All right, so we need to talk about Metroid Prime 4 because right now that is a hot topic ever since there was this interview from Famitsu with one of the developers who worked on this game, working at Retro Studios. So there's a lot of talk about this on Twitter. I mean, I saw this a couple of days ago, or it was yesterday. I can't remember to be exact, but there was an interview where one of the developers for Metroid Prime 4 had discussed some of the challenges when it came to making this game, and of course he brought up how Breath of the Wild had a strong influence when it came to like that open world aspect. Now, let me just say this: unlike the rest of the morons out there who are complaining about that, you're not going to hear me bitch about that at all. You're not going to hear me complain about the open world aspect or what they tried to do. The direction that they took with this game, they did go in the right direction. Problem is that it felt like a half measure. All right, it was definitely a half measure. It's like, oh, well, here's a big open world to drive around your motorcycle in, but all you can do is really shoot a few birds, um, some some enemy vehicles that spin on the floor and they try to hit you or whatever, stuff like that, and then crash into the green crystals. It was very lackluster and pretty damn boring when it comes to open world. I'm going to explain what they could have done to make that way better. But for the idiots out there saying, "Oh well, open world was a big mistake. They should have never done that," and you can't do that with Metroid, that's complete BS. Just because their execution on it was poor does not mean it's something that should never be done or attempted. And it's the same with online multiplayer. You got idiots who act like online multiplayer does not work for Metroid. Like, how could you be this stupid to think that it's impossible to create a Metroid game that has really good online multiplayer? It's not that difficult. It's not freaking rocket science, all right? But anyways, I do want to read this article or whatever. There are issues with the game. It is a big disappointment. I have to say that the game is very disappointing. It's good. It's a great Metroid game. It's also a very disappointing game when you take into consideration that it's been in development for 6 years by Retro Studios, and they had nothing else that they've been working on for those last 6 years other than this game. Anyways, let's just read this article here on Fama Boards. This is here's a question right here that was asked by the interviewer. Please tell us the reason for adopting the. Oh wait, no. Where the hell am I? I'm on a wrong thing. My bad, guys. Here we go. What were the most challenging aspects and the points you focused on most during the long development period? So their answer, the development team, the project changed development companies midway, and we had to restart at Retro Studios. So this is when, Bandai Namco, or one of the studios for Bandai Namco, was working on the game, and like I think a couple years in, Nintendo kind of took it from them and gave it to Retro Studios. However, Retro Studios didn't have the infrastructure in place to develop a Metroid Prime title at the time, so we had to start by building that foundation. Additionally, while we outsourced background models and cutscene creation, producing background data alone required numerous subcontractors. This involved selecting those companies initially and managing them throughout. Our progress management staff were incredibly helpful in balancing both schedule and quality. We're grateful to them. We're also thankful to the many studios that created the data. The key point we focused on was getting new staff to understand our production philosophy. production philosophy. It took time for them to grasp that we weren't just making a game, but building a player experience, whatever that's supposed to mean, and especially to understand the sense of pause/space. So like pause and space. So This is something important to take note of. This concept that they have called pause slash space. That is so characteristic of Metroid Prime. Ultimately, I believe they came to understand this Japanese concept of pause space itself. It's been 18 years. You know what? That's funny that that's a Japanese concept. It's a Japanese concept, and yet it doesn't seem to be doing any good for the Metroid games when it comes to actually selling well in Japan. But anyways, next question. It's been 18 years since the last numbered title. Were there any changes you consciously made to reflect the times? All right. Development team answers. At the start of the project, perhaps due to the influence of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, we saw a lot of comments on the internet saying we want to play an open world Metroid. I wonder how true that is. Like, they really saw a bunch of comments saying that. However, Metroid's core element of increasing the amount of explorable areas by unlocking powers is not very compatible with the freedom to go anywhere from the beginning of open worlds. Yeah, that's true, but that doesn't mean you can't be creative with it. Anyways, thus we thought to design a limited area that could be freely explored and have that be a hub that could connect to other areas, which wasn't really a bad idea in my opinion. Then we thought if one could move around on the bike in a satisfying way in that area, it could be a segment that mitigates the tension from exploration and paces the whole game. In the end, the game took much longer than expected to finish, and we realized that players' impressions toward open world games had changed. Okay, so I guess what they're trying to say that they're trying to imply that this was a mistake. One thing to note, it was their idea to have some open world aspects into this game, which is fine. But a lot of idiots out there are going to try to act like it was Nintendo who made that decision, or that was a Bandai Namco thing and they had to work around it. Nope, this was all Retro Studios' idea. So that's something that should be noted here. Now I want to skip to this next question right here. It says, what meaning is conveyed by the subtitle Beyond? That's a very good question, because there was nothing about this game that went beyond what Metroid is. Nothing. I mean, other than adding that open world aspect, having NPCs talk, and the motorcycle, there's really okay, psychic abilities that aren't really that great. There's really nothing, right? Now their answer was the development team intended it to mean transcending time and space. Okay. And I'll be honest, I'm not finished with the game yet. I've gotten pretty far into it, but transcending time and space, boy, I wish that was something that you can do from the get-go. I mean, I feel like this is something that has very little role in the game. You know what I mean? So let me just say this. None of those things are an issue. The open world aspect, not an issue. Riding on a motorcycle, whatever. The NPCs are definitely not a damn issue. People need to shut the hell up about the NPCs. The best thing that they did so far with this game was making it bigger and making it feel more alive, instead of it feeling a little bit smaller and having it so isolated where there's no talking, no dialogue. I hate that. I'm getting sick of that, in fact. Now, maybe they could make it optional for the weirdos out there who don't like hearing or seeing other people breathe the same oxygen in their video game or whatever. I don't know. But I like the fact that there's other people out there that you occasionally run into and help out. I actually like that. And I like most of the characters. I like some of the characters so far. I like the guy with the injured leg. That guy, that's a cool character. Miles McKenzie, he's whatever. That's literally all he is. He's just a big whatever character. Like I don't like him, don't hate him. It's just like, yeah, whatever. He's just kind of there, you know. He's so easy to forget about. Essentially, they did the right thing, making this game feel bigger, more alive. The only problem is, again, it was a half measure. That open world I mean, yeah, the open world segment where it's this big ass open field. What they could have done to make that a lot better instead of bare bones was do what they did in the game called Rage. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Rage. I played it on the Xbox 360 at my uncle's house when we went to go visit him one time many years ago. He had that in the room that I was staying in, and it was a really fun game. I remember just from the few couple hours that I played of it, or a few hours, and I liked the way they did the open world. It's more like a sandbox open world where it's not exactly open world, but it has open world segments that connect each mission to each other. And it's basically a post-apocalyptic game, kind of like Mad Max. What's another one? Borderlands, but not as weird as Borderlands, I guess. It's kind of like that. And I remember the open world aspect was so cool because it's like you're driving in this buggy and you're trying to get to the next area, and there's all these, like, bad guys, just out there driving around on a field, and you're having to blow them up, shoot them, and all this cool stuff. They should have done something like that for this game. They should have had multiple different little open world sections where there's battles going on. You see the Federation troopers there fighting pirates or whatever, fighting enemies and things like that, and you go in there and you help them fight the bad guys, the enemies, and stuff like that. That would have been a cooler way to do this, right? But instead, they had to make it very as bare bones as possible. That really pisses me off. So remember what I was saying about the of this right here, this weird concept or whatever that they say is like it's a Japanese concept. They say pause and space, right? Pause slash space. That is so characteristic of Metroid Prime. This pause and space thing, I'm going to explain why this, to me, is like a really stupid concept, and they need to do less of it. So let's just look at what this pause and space thing really means. So yes, Retro Studios, especially during the development of the Metroid Prime series, utilize a design philosophy often described as pause slash space, focusing on player contemplation, atmosphere, and exploration rather than constant action, letting players absorb the alien world through exploration, scanning, and environmental storytelling, creating a unique, immersive feel. This approach involved giving players moments to breathe, look around, and discover secrets, differentiating from faster-paced shooters and embodying a core pillar of the Metroid experience. All right, you know what all this is? A bunch of pretentious bullshit. That's what it is. This is all just pretentious bullshit that I'm getting really fed up with when it comes to Metroid. This whole just look at how beautiful the alien world is. Take time to breathe. Like, I'm playing a damn video game, all right? I'm not trying to meditate here. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to just be like, oh yeah, look how beautiful, and just gaze at everything. I'm so sick of this. This is what is keeping the franchise from, reaching more gamers, reaching more people. Is BS, And what's the point in making the alien world so beautiful and appealing if you're not going to have more fun things to do in it to keep looking at it, right? You add more, in-game content. You add more things to do in that game. and you're gonna keep going revisiting it to take in its beauty. Like, I think that's better. I think that makes more sense. Not, oh, I get to, like, it's like they treat this damn game like it's supposed to be a museum or something. You just walk around in it, explore, and once you've seen everything, okay, that's it. Bye. Thanks for coming. Thanks for, exploring our beautiful video game that we made. And that's it. Like, screw that. No, I want to come back. I want to play more. I want to play against other people. I want to have wars and battles and all that cool stuff. I don't want to just walk around and enjoy the scenery and take in everything for just one time. That is the biggest freaking problem with these games and this stupid philosophy of pause in space. Okay? So that's something that pisses me off. Look, again, I'm not saying the entire game needs to be chock filled with action to where it doesn't feel like a Metroid game anymore. But damn it, just have a lot more variety into it, Put some more variety into the game. Have more moments where it feels like you're playing a Doom game and you're just mowing down enemy pirates. Or make it feel more like Halo, where it's like a big epic battle and you gotta, help the Federation troopers clear out some bad guys. That's I think that's one of the biggest problems with this game. It's lack of variety and things to do. And again, maybe just have the main story be 90 or 80% isolated or whatever, and then have other freaking modes that you can play that are more action oriented. Why the hell do they not just do that? Why do they not just put more freaking in-game content? It's always got to be just one story. That's it. One campaign, that's it. Nothing else. No other fun modes to play in. It can't be anything cool like what they did in Time Splitters and Time Splitters 2, where you have all these different arcade challenge modes and all these different fun things to do that literally makes the game like a forever game, similar to Super Smash Bros. Instead, it's got to be this one-time experience, and that's what's pissing me off. And here's the thing about this pause and space philosophy and concept. I do like the concept of exploration, learning new things about the planet, the aliens on it. Wouldn't it be much cooler, though, if instead of just scanning them, and all it does is give you a diagram of the alien or whatever it is you're scanning, and you just have to read it? Why the hell don't they just like create this like you scan it and then they give you a video or a cutscene of what the thing is, and have like a cool ass voice of some guy telling you what it is. This alien is, one of the most deadly aliens in this environment, this and that, blah blah blah. Something cool like that. Oh, this Federation trooper is a sniper, elite level sniper, stuff like that, man. Wouldn't that be way cooler? Why are they so damn lazy? I mean, it's just so lame. It's like you scan something and you read the damn words and that's it. I think that alone makes people not really want to scan. I think if they started doing that instead, if they stopped being lazy and said, we're going to put in a cool cinematic cutscene or something like that, where you scan something and it gives you a quick scene of whatever it is. It could even give you the history of it. Here's how they came into being, or like here's a battle that these space pirates had lost or had won recently, stuff like that. Would be so much cooler. That would make the exploration aspect of the Metroid games so much better. And then people playing the game would be scanning everything. Kind of sucks how there's so much to scan, but it's like, damn, like you went through the effort of having all of these things have like a history, a biography, all of these things attached to it, right? And yet, how many people are not even going to bother scanning it? That's got to really suck. You went through the trouble of making this game, giving so many different things in the world, a background, a story, a biography, that many gamers may not even bother learning about. In my opinion, I think it would be way better if instead of just giving you freaking words to read, just boring you, give us a cool cinematic. Give us like a cinematic with a narrator voice that explains what that thing is, where it came from, the history of it, who he is, what it is, whatever. That would be way better. That would be so much freaking better. So yeah, basically that's another thing that they should have done better with this game. Let's continue reading this article. Here's another question. What is the biggest appeal of Metroid Prime 4 in a nutshell? Development team says, technically, the stunning graphics using massive textured data. That's bullshit, man. That's so stupid. It's not the lore. It's not the world you're exploring or whatever. Technically, it's the stunning graphics. You know, this is another reason why I just don't like retro studios. They focus way too much on the wrong things sometimes. Then of course they're talking about 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second. Yeah, hey, I like that. Problem is that it's not an action oriented game. So who the hell cares if it's 60 frames per second, 120 frames per second? Isn't that really just stupid? How this is a selling point for the video game, even though it's not a game that has a lot of action in it to begin with. Kirby Air Riders, that's a game that has 60 frames per second, probably more. And it's a very high paced, chaotic game. Thank God that game is 60 frames per second or more. Now, this game, I mean, you know, when I got it, I went with the 60 frames per second because it's like, why do I need it to be 120 frames per second? Most people online were like, I'm going with the 120 frames per second. It's like, why? It's not like there's a lot of action or chaos or battling that's going on that you need it to be 120 frames per second. It makes no sense. Here's another one. Another question I want to read real quick. Please tell us the reason for adopting the new psychic ability element in this title and any points you focused on. Development team says, while playing with the prototype, we came up with the idea of controlling the charge beam. That's like the coolest thing they could come up with. Controlling the charge beam. We had it programmed and tested and determined it would add a new layer of gameplay. But then we asked, what makes Samus capable of this? That led us to tie it to psychic abilities. Oh man, that's so lame. Later, when development was transferred to Retro Studios, we asked them to add other ideas for psychic abilities. Other ideas, and of course, those other ideas were something as lame as just controlling invisible objects or mechanisms in order to open doors. And that's it. So far, at least, from what I've played and from what I've seen, that is it. The ability to just manipulate mechanisms. What a bunch of lame asses that they couldn't even think of something as cool as mind controlling an enemy. Here's another thing that would have made the game much better. Being able to control enemies in order to access certain areas that are too dangerous for Samus to go into. Wouldn't that be cool? You have to mind control a certain enemy, then you got to get into this base or this area. You got to extract something, whether it's information or something that Samus needs in order to get into another area, or maybe to shoot and assassinate someone. You know, it could be something like that. She is a bounty hunter after all, but doesn't seem to be, you know, doing a whole lot of bounty hunting. That would have been awesome. Wouldn't that have been cool? Control like a monster. That way, you can sneak in around into an area that is, I don't know, very dark or dangerous, and you can see what giant monster is out there lurking around. Man, that would have been so freaking cool if they had done these things. Would have been so cool. And then they could even add some more layers to that. Like, okay, you're taking over an enemy's body, but there are certain areas that that enemy cannot access because he isn't ranked high enough in order to be allowed into those areas. So if you go into those areas, you know, he immediately gets, shot or taken down, whatever, right? Apprehended, I guess. I think that would have been really cool. And then finally, when it comes to like, the open world stuff or whatever, I was hoping that there was going to be a lot of moments where you get inside of a mech to go into dangerous areas to start mowing down giant monsters. I think that would have been awesome. It's like, here's a giant area. The monsters in this area are super big and dangerous. You need a mech. You need the mech suit. Hey, you know what would have been awesome? Being able to drive Samus's little space jet, her spaceship. That would have been freaking awesome. Drive around, shoot down, shoot bad guys on the battlefield, stuff like that. There was this really cool video game, a video game within a video game called Nintendo Land. Nintendo Land, it was probably one of the best video games for the Nintendo Wii U. And there was this really cool video game where you used a gamepad to to control Samus's spaceship. And that game was so freaking fun. And it always makes me freaking scratch my head as to why they never ever did this for any actual Metroid game. It was only that fun little spin-off game in Nintendo Land where you got to control the spaceship. So I mean, like, how hard is it to just come up with these cool ass fucking things for a video game? Apparently, for Retro Studios, they can't think of shit to make this game fun. They are so stupid and like freaking just lame. Seriously, it's like they're just brain dead. Such a brain dead studio. Sorry, I have to say it. Very disappointing, Retro Studios. Again, I'm having fun with the game, but I can't help but think, man, it's a game that I'll play for like 1 or 2 hours, and then I'll get bored and I'll be like, all right, time for some Kirby Air Riders. Time for some Splatoon 3. Games that have a shit ton of content in it. That's another benefit of having more content in a video game. You get tired of the story or the main campaign, you just play whatever other game modes that it has to offer. So, here's one more thing I want to show you guys, and this might be the biggest reason why this game ended up being very mediocre. I think a lot of it is because Retro Studios stupidly hired this piece of garbage known as Megan Fosty to be the one to write the story for Metroid Prime 4. Now, just take a look at this idiot. Look at how stupid she looks. You already know what kind of piece of crap this person is. This filthy creature right here. You already know this is just some degenerate, woke piece of garbage that should have never been hired, ever. But somehow stupid Retro Studios actually hired this piece of crap to be the one to work on this game. And that was back in 2020, and I believe she worked on the game from 2020 to 2022. Until I guess she was finally just let go from the company. So, let's just read up on her a little bit. Metroid Prime 4 credential, controversial game developer. Megan Fosty, the woke SJW LGBTQ activist who previously said she wanted to make Samus trans, is credited in Metroid Prime 4. She was fired from Retro Studios years ago, but it looks like they still used her work. So, they used her work. So, I don't know, who knows how much of her work was actually used or why she was fired, but I like to think that they fired her ass because she wanted to make Samus Aran trans. And she was probably doing some other dumb shit when it comes to the story. And what I think happened was, after they fired her, they had to clean up a bunch of crap. I think they had to clean the game up. They had to waste so much time trying to undo the mess that she made. And so they just spent so much time doing that instead of making the game even bigger and better than it could have been. Now, Retro Studios is very stupid for having hired her in the first place. I'm glad they fired her. That's pretty awesome. They got rid of this piece of garbage, this stupid piece of trash. Why the hell did they even hire her in the first place? Apparently, the work that she'd done was Star Wars Jedi, Fallen Order. I'm so sick of Star Wars. I'm going to be honest with you people out there. I know you're probably fans of Star Wars. Fuck Star Wars. I'm so sick of it. So sick of that gay shit. Like, I'm a Warhammer 40,000 fan more so than I am a Star Wars. Like, I just can't stand Star Wars anymore. I'm getting so sick of it. So old, so played out. I think the last three big blockbuster movies were so garbage that it made me hate it even more. But even the stuff that is good, I'm so sick of it. I'm really sick and tired of Star Wars. It's also like the atheist, favorite fictional fantasy is Star Wars. But yeah, this Megan Foster piece of garbage was one of the people. She was the main one doing the story until she got fired. And I would like to think it's because, I'm almost certain that's the reason why. She was probably screwing up the lore, writing some really stupid crap, and they said, all right, you know what, you suck. We're getting rid of you. Now we gotta clean up the garbage that you left behind with this freaking video game. That's what it seems like. There doesn't seem to be much of a story with this video game, I notice. And it's probably because the story that was there was garbage, and they just had to scrap it, and now we're just left with a very simple a Metroid Prime game that doesn't have much story to it. Let's see what else is said here. This is on Facebook. Listening to the dialogue in the various scenes out there, you can see the utter and complete lack of solid writing. It is vapid, shallow, near vacant, and devoid of depth or emotion. Write what you know. Nah, I don't know. It's like 3 weeks ago. Contract narrative writer. A censor. This guy says, this is why we gatekeep. Jamus Aaron. I don't like the way Samus Aaron looks. Like whenever I'm playing the game and I shoot and you see the big light, you see her face's reflection off of her own visor. I don't know, like the way that her face looks. It's almost as if she was trying to make her look a bit manly. Thank God they fired her. Nobody has ever complained about not enough activism in Vidya. They still used her work on the video game anyway. I'm disappointed if you ask me. Well, like what though? What was her work, the work that they used? Something that doesn't even really matter, A few of the scenes of Samus and Silex interacting with each other a little bit. Is it the Miles McKenzie stuff? Is it that? Is it the fangirl who's a big fan of Samus Aran? Like, what is the stuff that, Retro Studios still used that this worthless piece of trash put inside of the game? I could tell you this, it's definitely not anything that is considered to be woke. It might be cringe, it might be lame, it might be mediocre, but I'm pretty sure they removed a lot of stuff, a lot of junk that was put into this game from this piece of crap. I wish more people would talk about this too. Because this is a serious issue, and Nintendo needs to gatekeep. Nintendo needs to make sure we don't get stupid idiots like Megan, who's going to show up and ruin everything with their liberal garbage, their woke crap. So I think that's one of the main reasons the game ended up being slightly mediocre. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. This was something that definitely needed to be talked about, and I definitely wanted to share my thoughts on the game and on this article and on this on what has been said. Retro Studios themselves, like a lot of stupid people are running with this dumb narrative that Nintendo forced them to make Metroid Prime for an open world game. No, Retro Studios literally said that was their idea. Now, Here's the thing, there's nothing wrong with the open world aspects other than the fact that it's bare bones and lackluster. As I mentioned, they should have done something similar to what they did in the game called Rage. If you ever played Rage on the Xbox 360, you'll see what I'm talking about. That's a great game. That has like a sandbox open world element to it, and that was one that was done right. That's something they should have done a little bit more with Metroid Prime 4. They should have had some more battles going on in the game as well. And I also talked about how like the scanning, they want Metroid. They talk about the game's main appeal being the fact that you're exploring the alien planet, you're learning about these things that you scan. Again, they can make that more fun by giving you a cinematic video of what it is you're scanning, giving you the history and all that. That stuff like that is cool. Stuff like that. And you know what? It makes great for YouTube. Think about it. People love to watch, cutscenes and things like that of their favorite video game or a video game they haven't played yet or whatever. Do you think anybody goes on YouTube to watch Samus scan something and then read it? No. But if she was scanning something and then you get an awesome cinematic video and it's a narrator explaining the history of whatever that thing is, that's way more cooler. That is way more badass. That would work. That would be great. You know, they should start doing a little bit more of that, than just reading words. Like reading words should be for like smaller and less important things, like you scan a lizard or something. But you scan different enemies, enemy types, or bigger aliens, bigger monsters, or bigger areas, whatever, and you get a full breakdown and a video of it with some narration. That would make the scanning aspect way more fun. Then there's the psychic abilities, right? Again, what they did with the psychic abilities was pretty lame. The only cool thing was controlling that projectile, and it does come in handy in certain boss fights. But again, that's it. Like, what about being able to control enemies, stuff like that? That would have been way better. That would have been way cooler. What else did I talk about? Oh, the mech, getting inside of the giant mechs in order to go into big, huge areas where the monsters are either too big and dangerous or areas that Samus can't really reach because I don't know, they're just too big and you need a big giant mech that's gonna jump up there or something. Something cool like that. That would have been awesome. What else? Oh, the last and final thing. Time traveling. Why the hell was there no time traveling? Now people are saying, oh well, the game did introduce time traveling or different dimensions in time and space, something like that. And it's like, well, shit, barely. I'm playing the game right now and I'm not getting any of that. It was only at the very beginning so far where, you end up getting teleported, but like, did you travel in time or did you just simply get teleported? Like, it's very lackluster even with that. They should have done more of that. They should have done more time traveling things or whatever. Boy, I was expecting this game to be a huge love letter to the Metroid series, to the Metroid franchise. You go back in time and up there you are fighting Kraid from one of the 2D Metroid games. But now this time it's in the first person's perspective. Wouldn't that have been much cooler? That's another thing. It just pisses me off. Like, where the hell are all the legendary villains at? Like, no Ridley? Damn. No Kraid? What the hell is with them not putting Kraid in one of these damn Metroid Prime games? One of the coolest villains. He's giant as hell. It would be so cool to see him in a freaking Metroid Prime game. And for whatever stupid ass reason, they just don't do it. It's pissing me off. There's so much more they could have done with this game. Now, from what I'm hearing, the way this game ends, it ends in a way that the story will continue, so there'll more than likely be a Metroid Prime 5. They better get their crap together, and they better make that game a million times better than this one. A million times better. Everything that I talked about here. I hope this video gets millions of freaking views and everybody shares it with Nintendo or something, or Nintendo ends up seeing it, or Retro Studios ends up seeing it. I don't know. But more people need a like. This is what Retro Studios needs to do to make this game better. All right, all the things I mentioned. Now I know there's going to be idiots, contrarians, and those stupid types. They're going to come into the comment section and be like, "No, that's not Metroid. Metroid is just exploration and beautiful graphics. All that stupid stuff." It's like, no, I'm getting sick of that. Again, the exploration part can be fun if done correctly, and as I mentioned, scanning items or whatever and reading it, that will get boring after a while. They got to be more creative with that. All right. So, anyways, you guys let me know what you think about all this in the comments below. This is a serious thing that needs to be talked about. What are any of you guys subscribe to this channel? How pleased are you with this game? Do you agree with me that it is disappointing? Even though it's a great game, it's a great Metroid game, do you at least agree that it is very disappointing considering how long it's been in development for? What would you like to see be added? What do you think will make the series better? Be creative. Be creative. What are some cool modes? Do you think of some favorite video games that you've played and, something like that can, Metroid can take inspiration from? Just to add another mode to the freaking game besides just the normal single player campaign. I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear from you guys. What can make this series much better? What can make Metroid Prime 5 way greater than this game? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this video. You all take care, and I hope to hear from you guys soon. Have a good night.